Hello there and welcome to Cansanity. Today we're going to be making some classic apricot jam, so let's get started. Okay, so first we're going to rinse the apricots and we're going to halve and pit them. And when apricots are just ripe, it's the perfect time to make this jam. And you'll see how quickly you can pit all of these apricots. So they're rinsed, and then all you have to do is take your knife and run it along the seam, and these are nice and ripe, so they just come apart so easily and the pit just comes right off. And so now when you make apricot jam, that peel will just melt into the jam, so there's no need to peel it. So all you have to do is halve and then quarter and put them in your pot and remove the pit, of course. Okay, so this was 3.5 pounds of apricots and weighed before you pitted. And so they've been pitted and quartered. And then you're just gonna add 3 cups of sugar and 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now for classic apricot jam, that's it. Just the 3 ingredients. And now we're going to stir this up and we're going to let it sit for 30 minutes before we do the cook. And that will, the sugar will and the lemon juice combined will draw out the liquid out of the apricots. So you can leave it on your counter for 30 minutes or longer, or you can put it in the fridge overnight. Okay, making classic apricot jam is one of the quickest jams to make. It'll only take 12 minutes to cook the fruit, and then you can it. So I already pre-boiled my canning pot. I got it up to a boil and then I shut it off so that when I'm ready to can, it'll only take a couple minutes to bring it back up to boil. And the other thing that I did was I put my jars in a 225-degree Fahrenheit oven for 10 minutes to sterilize along with the rings. So that's already done and they're still in the oven. And now I just have my element on medium high, and once this starts to cook, then I will start my timer for 12 minutes. Okay, so it's starting to boil now, and so I started my timer. And now you want to stay near the pot because you want to keep stirring it. You don't want the sugars to settle on the bottom, because then you'll end up with a more brown colored apricot jam, which is fine. It's just if you want the brightest of color, then make sure that you're near the pot and stir it. And I have it at medium high, not high, because again, you don't want to burn or scorch the bottom of your pot. Okay, I have about 3 minutes to go, and I just wanted to say that you can skim off some of the foam while you see it. You can do that at the end, or you can do that near the end. Now this is a jam that is not going to have a real thick set. It's a runny jam. It's absolutely delicious on scones. Okay, so my 12 minutes are up, so I'm just going to shut off my heat. And you can see how the apricots have just disintegrated into the jam. Now you see there's a bit of some chunkier parts. That's great for texture in your jam. If you want, you can smash it against the side to kind of break it down further. I like chunky bits in my jam, so I'm going to take that off and move it to the other side to my counter now, and now we'll fill the jars. Okay, so I have my ladle in boiling water, as well as my funnel, and then a spoon to stir down the jam. And with jam, you want a 1/4 inch head space, so that's a 1/4 inch from the top of the jar. So I fill them close to that and then move on. Now I usually get 6 jars, 6 250 milliliter jars, but I often will just put an extra jar in my oven to sterilize, just so that I have somewhere to put my funnel once I've filled my 6 jars. And occasionally you get a little smidgen more. Sometimes you get a little less. It depends how much water is in the apricots. So this will set up a bit more, but it is a runnier jam. This is an important step. You want to make sure that you have a 1/4 inch, because if you have a little bit less or a little bit more, your jars may not seal. You've done all this work and you want to have this lovely jam all season long. So don't rush this step. Now I have a spoon also that I stuck in my boiling hot water, and then you want to stir your jam down and then take out or add if you think you need to adjust the headspace. This one had a little bit too much. The other tip is to make sure that you do this on a level surface. Make sure, like if you're doing it on your stove top, that your stove is level. Because if it's not level, you're not going to get your head space proper. Okay, so then now what I do is I take a paper towel and I just wet it in my boiling hot water. And years and years of canning, I can really handle really hot jars and hot cloths with my hands. You can let it cool down a little bit if it's too hot for you, but make sure that it's hot when it goes onto the cloth. Paper towel. You could use a cloth if you want, but a paper towel is fine. And you want to do this because you don't want anything to get in the way of that seal. So even just a little bit of jam on that rim can affect your seal. Okay, so now you're going to put your rings, your lids on, your snap lids. And I'm just going to take another look to make sure that the headspace is correct. Sometimes once you move the jars a little bit, you realize your headspace isn't quite right, so make the adjustments. And now I just washed my snap lids. I'm just going to dump them into my hot water. And it can just stay in that hot water for 30 seconds to a minute, just to soften the seal. You don't want to boil the lids because you might take the actual gumminess off of the snap lid, and you want that there. And then take your snap lids and just place them on like that. And now my rings are in my hot oven. That is at 225 degrees, or was at 225 degrees Fahrenheit. I have more jars here because I'm actually going to do 3 batches of this jam with different variations. And just put your ring on till fingertip tight. If there's a dent in your ring, don't use it. It might affect your seal. And just a fingertip tight, because you want that air to come out of the jar. That's the purpose of putting it in the water bath processing, or doing the water bath processing. So, and if you find that you have a lot of resistance, then the ring might not be good, so don't use it. And you know, they're reusable, so over time they can get dents in them because people get impatient and slam the ring on the side of a counter to try to get it to open. I give a lot of jam away. Sometimes I get the rings back in good condition, sometimes not. Okay, so that's my 6 jars, and now we're ready to put that in a canning pot. Okay, as you can see, my boiling water canner is at a full boil, and so now I'll add my jam. And you want to have 1 inch away from the pot, 1 inch away from the jars, and at least 1 inch over top of your jars. I have a lot of water in this pot because I'm going to do 3 batches in a row, and I don't want to run the risk of having to add cold water to my boiling water. So it's a little overkill right now, but that's okay. Now you're grabbing your jars not by the ring, but by the glass. Okay, so now you're going to put your lid back on, and you're going to wait till it returns to a full boil, and then you're going to set your timer for 10 minutes. Now this pot happens to have an indicator on it, so when it goes into green, then it's safe to start my timer. I always watch the water though. Once it's to a full boil, that's when I start the timer, just in case the indicator isn't quite right. Okay, so while this is processing for 10 minutes, I started the cook on another batch, same amount of apricots, 3.5 pounds pitted and quartered, and 3 cups of sugar, and 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. And then you're going to see the twist on this one after we take out the jam with the first batch. Okay, so the timer went off, shut my heat off, and I'm going to take these jars out. And you can just lift them straight up. Don't worry about the water on top because that will just evaporate. And you're lifting by the jar, not the ring. And I already heard 1 snap. That's what you like to hear. Number 2. Wow, I'm getting 100% success right off the bat. So that's 5, and that's the last, that's the 6th. And now, because I don't want the sugars to sit on the bottom, I'm going to get to stirring my other batch that's cooking away. Okay, so my 12 minutes of cooking is up for this batch, and the twist on this one is I'm going to add some nice tarragon that I grow in my garden. And there's about 1/4 cup. And it's basically 1 full sprig, and then you just snip it into your jam. Now you could leave the leaves whole, but then that's a long string in your jam, so I like to put some snips in there. And tarragon has a nice almost licorice anise flavor, and so it just changes the look and the flavor ever so slightly. And snip rather than chop, because if you chop the tarragon, you're going to leave some of the oils behind on your board. So some of the flavor will be left behind. So snip rather than chop. Okay, and for the last batch of apricot jam, I'm going to add a lemon boost. I'm going to add limoncello, but before I do that, I'm just going to skim off the foam. This just came off the heat. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of limoncello. Now, this is going to make it super lemony. So these are for those people out there that love lemon. So add just 2 tablespoons. And always off heat with alcohol, because you can even see that it's bubbling up, even though this is been off heat for a couple minutes already. Give it a stir. And now fill your jars. Okay, so all my apricot jam is done. And just to give you an idea of how many apricots I processed today, I just brought the box that they came in to show you. This is about an 11 quart box. I bought this box of fresh apricots at one of my favorite fruit farms, the Red Barn Fruit Farm in Arkona. And for 11 quarts, which is about 13 pounds of apricots, it's $55. And with that, I got all of this lovely apricot jam, plus a little to eat as well, a small bowl of apricots to eat. So I got 6 jars of the apricot jam with tarragon, 6 classic apricot jams, and 7 of the apricot jams with limoncello. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you are enjoying the CanSanity videos, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to click on the bell so that you will receive notifications when we produce another video. And I hope that if you are enjoying all of the CanSanity content, that you go often to our CanSanity website, cansanity.com. and check out this recipe and all the other great recipes there waiting for you. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Have a great day.